Simply blessed. Yes, we are. Today we're going to make some breaded pork chops in Charlene's kitchen. Good morning to you. This morning I thought we'd make some breaded pork chops. And we're going to make a little pan full of sauerkraut and stewed tomatoes as on the bottom of a nice casserole dish. I've got a nice big one right here. We're going to fill that up, and then we'll put our breaded pork chops on the top and roast them so they're nice and tender and juicy. I'm going to bring this down so you can see what I've been up to so far. I have my pork chops all ready to go here. We've got our flour. I'm going to season it. I'm not going to measure because I'm only just giving it a little shake of salt, okay? Just a little. And let me move this over. This is the meat, of course, we know, but I want to show you what else I have here. So you have your flour, all right? Then you, if you've never done this before, this is the best way to make your anything you bread, anything. Pork chops, pork tenderloins, anything you want. I have 1 egg in here, which is really quite enough because I only have 5 pork chops that I'm making for tonight. Now, if you have a bigger family and you want to make a couple extra, you have more leftovers. We're going to have leftovers with 5. So I'm going to salt a little salt in there. I'm going to put, a little garlic pepper in there, just shake it in there a little bit, okay? Just so it's lightly seasoned. I'm going to add a teeny bit of water to this because I want it to be just a little thinner. So let me get a little container here. All right, so I'm going to add just a tad bit of water. You don't want to add a lot. Okay, so this is how it goes. Let's mix that up really good so the seasonings get all mushed up. All right, so we have flour. It goes in the flour first. It goes egg wash, and then our panko breadcrumbs. And there they are. And they don't need anything but a nice dip in there because I love them, you know. They make the meat nice and crunchy. So we're going to start with that. And let's get our meat out back here again. I'm going to toss it for, I got a nice little meatball, I'm thinking meatballs, of my pork chops. Now, I have seasoned them already, and I had them just piled up here like this, and I seasoned them with salt and pepper, and that was about it. I'm not doing anything more. So here it goes into the flour, and that's so the meat is dry. If it's nice and dry, it adheres to everything else. So now I go into the egg wash. Let me bring this up a little bit. Just a tad. Okay. So now I've got it out of the egg wash. Okay. And I'm going to drop it into my panko breadcrumbs. Just like that. Just like that. And that is, look how beautiful that looks. That's yummy good. Pork chops with the bone, girls. Don't be buying pork chops without the bone. You want flavor, you want something good. If you don't like the bone at the finished product, then cut it off. But the thing is, when you're cooking it, this is where the flavor is. We're in the flour. We're going to drop that into the egg wash. So I buy everything bone in. They're not doing me any favors when they give it to me without a bone. Now, back into the breadcrumbs. Panko breadcrumbs. Beautiful. Look at that. Look at that. Onto a cookie sheet with some paper towel, okay? I like to get them all done. Do it all at one shot. Okay. Here's what was a little chop. Nice bone-in chop. Small. But it must have been off the loin. You know how you loin chops. So sometimes they're not all equal, but they're okay with me. Egg wash and into the panko. This doesn't take much time. Get your little dishes ready and off you go. All right, there's number 3. Okay, this is a big one here. We've got a big one here. Okay, so we're going to put in the flour. And I did season the pork chops, and I let them sit there and let them, so they would be nice and dry when I'm ready to work with them. I don't want them right out of the refrigerator. No. Pull everything out ahead of time. Pull your meat out ahead of time. Here's it. All right. And into the panko again. Like so. This is going to be for a hungry boy here. This is a big one. Okay, this was a little fatty part, but I'm keeping it because I want that little fat. After I'm going to roast it, that'll be something that adds to my flavor. So I cut that off the pork chop. It was connected to a pork chop, and it was kind of fatty, but I'm hanging on to it because I want some fat in there. When I put it together when I'm browning it, as well as when I'm roasting it. So a little bit that most well, you could see they were all quite lean. So that's how it goes. And here's another little piece, kind of an oddball. I'm going to add a little more panko. Kind of a little oddball shape. So I get them in a bunch, and they're more reasonable that way. Oh crap, I got 5. I've got 5, I got 10 pork chops for around $7. That's a deal. If you have a big family, just grab that and make them all. Just put them all into, like I'm doing now, and they'll be nice and tender. Make your meals early if you can, so that you're not strapped down but if you're working, that's not possible. But when I was home, I always tried to make as much as I could in the morning. Okay, so here we are. That's all ready to go. I'm going to grab my little dishes, and we're done with that. Now, we're going to start to brown up these beautiful pork chops. As you can see, they're all ready to go. So I breaded them all up, got them ready to go. Bring up my frying pan and get that pan nice and hot. Now, to make it even a little better yet, I'm going to render a little bacon. That bacon is going to go into my sauerkraut. So this is like a one meal, all in one roasting pan. So we render the bacon, we want that fat, and what we want is flavor. I'm going to take you over there to see that. There's my bacon. It's frying up. I am now going to add some chopped onion to that. 1 minute, please. Here we go. We're going to drop some onion, chopped onion that I chopped previously, 1 medium onion, into that bacon. What I'm doing here is I am setting up for my cabbage, for my sauerkraut. And I'm getting it ready. I'm layering it with the bacon fat. We put some onion down. Now we are going to, I want to brown up a little bit of that onion. I'm going to bring you over so you can see what I'm doing. And then we'll brown up the pork chops last because they go on top. Into that onion and bacon, I added a can of stewed tomatoes. And into my sauerkraut, I added the sauerkraut in there. And then I added a can of stewed tomatoes. Now I used let's see, it's a 24-ounce can of sauerkraut, and it's a German-style sauerkraut. And then I added a 14.5-ounce can of stewed tomatoes to it, and there we are with that. I want to show you that. What I wanted to tell you that I didn't mention beforehand is that I did rinse the sour. I put it in a strainer, and I rinsed my sauerkraut because I find it a little bit too harsh. So I rinse it with cold water and just let it, you know, let it drain out, and that'll be fine. Now, with that, I'm going to add a little bit of brown sugar. I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to do a tasting because true enough, this was stewed tomatoes. Wait a minute. This was stewed tomatoes. They're not sour. And also, I did strain off the juice from that sauerkraut. I strained, you know, I rinsed it. So I want to get just to see, okay? I don't want it to be too sweet either. That's not good. Okay. No. It definitely needs some sugar. And I'm going to use brown sugar. I just like to use the brown sugar in my sauerkraut. You know what, I want to tell you something. If you ever had brown sugar that gets hard like a rock, and you feel like you can't use it, next time you have an apple, put a little piece of apple in there. It becomes so beautiful. It gets supple all over again. Okay, so we're going to use, I'm going to use the other spoon because I can't measure that way with that one. Okay, so I'm going to put, let's see. Okay, 1 tablespoon and 2 tablespoons. 2 tablespoons of brown sugar because that's what I felt it needed. And I'm going to mix that up. Okay. Into that sauerkraut. And, you know, that sauerkraut is just about where I want it to be now. Okay, there we are. Now, I want to show you that I peeled 5 potatoes, small, not too big, and I sliced them, and I rinsed them, and I have buttered my my little casserole dish here at the bottom, a little bit of butter, the oil and butter mixture, and I sliced up my potatoes, and I've just layered them in there. I'm going to show you. Here are the potatoes that I sliced up, and don't forget to rinse them off and let them dry off. And then I put them in a slightly buttered casserole dish at the bottom, and I put some dill, some basil, a teaspoon of each. A teaspoon of dill, teaspoon of basil, a teaspoon of parsley, and of course a teaspoon of salt, and some garlic pepper, about a teaspoon also. So that's how that looks. Now what I'm going to be doing is spooning that sauerkraut over those potatoes. There's the sauerkraut. I spooned it over those potatoes. Oh, it's going to be so yummy good. Those potatoes are going to be so nice and tender and delicious with the little sauerkraut and the bacon and onion. And now we're going to start frying up those breaded pork chops. There's the pork chops ready to go into the pan, okay? I'm going to move you over so you can see as I'm putting it in. I put some Crisco oil in my pan. I didn't do any big cleaning up from the sauerkraut because it really doesn't matter. It's all going to be good. Here we go. Here we go. All right. There's the pork chops in the pan. And just some Crisco oil. I got 4 beautiful chops in there. I've got this little one that I told you about that I kept even though it was kind of fatty, but I want it to go into my sauerkraut. And I got another one here that's kind of little and strange, but I'm going to wait till I have a little more room. So let's get that nice and brown. And after those pork chops are nicely browned up, then they go on top of the sauerkraut mixture. And and into the oven at about 350. This is an incredible meal. It's even a party meal if you want to make it. 350, okay? 350. And the sauerkraut is right here. See, ready to rock. That's why we had to make that. But it's a nice idea to bread up your chops, get them all ready, then you're not so exhausted of the whole thing once you get this all set up. So, and the potatoes were nicely seasoned, right? Nicely seasoned. All right, so let's see what this, almost. Let's see. Oh gosh, this is beautiful. All right, they're getting nice. Oh, I'm gonna just turn them over. They're ready. Look at that. Oh, see that little fatty one, how it's crusted up? Yeah, that's what a little fat does. Okay, and here's another one. There we go. Look at that. That is such a good thing. We get these browned up on both sides. I'm going to show you when I'm ready to, after I put them into this sauerkraut and in the oven for about an hour. See you in a little bit. The pork chops are all browned up and they are now in the casserole dish. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? There they are. On top of that, oops, I just put a piece on my pan. Oh, that's okay. What I'm going to do now in that hot pan is I'm going to add about a half a cup of wine. Let's see, about a half a cup into that where the pork chops are fried up. I'm going to keep all that good stuff. Okay, we want all that good stuff. This pan is so hot, I'm going to bring it down. So I added the half a cup of rosé wine. I wouldn't like to use a red wine, but if that's what you have, use a red wine. But what I like is the Riesling wine or any kind of white wine, okay, or pink. But Moscato, I love those wines. Those are really good. Again, they have a little sweetness to them. I guess that's kind of what I enjoy. But you use the kind of wine that you like. Okay, so that's it. I'm not going to give up that wonderful, there's where all the goodness is, and you know what? It helped me clean up my frying pan. And it picks up all that, everything we've done so far. The bacon, the onions, the sauerkraut, the onions, the stewed tomatoes, and here we go. Now, I'm going to take this pan, I'm just going to pour it on top of those pork chops with that wine. That's all going to drip down into goodness, right? Luscious, luscious, right? Now, I'm going to cover those pork chops with a little foil, okay? We're going to move this out of here so you can see this. Here they are all done. The oven is almost at 350, and I'm going to put some foil on top of that. There we go. There we go. When I get that foiled up, I'm going to put it in the oven. Be back in an hour. I took the pork chops out after an hour, and I uncovered something so delicious. I hope you try this recipe. The pork chops are so tender and flavorful. The potatoes are nice and tender, and just the sauerkraut is not too sour, not too sweet, just very, very delicate, lovely taste. Try this recipe. It's a winner.